The financial world tonight, mourning a legend. John Bogle died at the age of 89. He was known as Jack, and to his ardent followers as Saint Jack. He arguably did more than anyone else to make the benefits of investing accessible and affordable to people on ordinary incomes. He founded the Vanguard group in 1975 and invented the first index tracking fund for individual investors. He liked to say he put the mutual back in mutual funds. So how did he do it? The theory was, instead of paying a broker to cherry-pick winning stocks, a basket of diverse holdings could be managed at a low cost. Over time, that basket would provide modest, steady returns. It would literally mirror the index. As he would say, don't look for the needle in a haystack, just buy the haystack. His methods helped tens of millions of people build better lives. It was a product of the Great Depression, and Bogle railed against excess on Wall Street. Even as Vanguard became the largest investment firm in the world, he flew coach class and took cabs instead of a limo. And then in 2017, he told CNN he was happy to take less so investors could have more.
I don't want any bigger piece of the pie than I have. I'm doing fine. By the standards of normal America, by the standards of Wall Street, I'm kind of an idiot. Why didn't I get all those big rewards? But the fact of the matter is, I'm comfortable. My wife is comfortable. Neither of us like to spend much money. We live in a nice house, not particularly big, but very nice. And we're very happy there. We don't need anything that we can't buy. We don't buy much. And if I have any regrets, is that if I'd had a lot more money, I could have given a lot more away.
Rana's with me, our global economic analyst and economist for the Financial Times. You had met and interviewed Jack many times.
Many times. He was a big source on my book, Makers and Takers, How Wall Street Destroyed Main Street. And you wouldn't think that a guy who'd spent his entire life in finance would be ready to talk about all the bad things Wall Street's done, but he really viewed himself as a steward, as a steward of people's money, and he was very of his generation in that way.
The index fund, which we now take for granted, and there are dozens, hundreds, thousands of them, how did it come about?
You know, he, again, saw himself as somebody that was there to help you look after your money for the long haul. He was not into picking stocks. He was not into betting on today's story, tomorrow's story. He was in it for the long haul. And so, as you say, why buy or why look for the needle in the haystack when you can buy the haystack? He really felt that it was his job as part of the financial sector to be a conduit for wealth, not to be the action itself.
But, of course, the index funds, unless, I mean, they've been juiced up.
Yeah, true enough.
The derivative elements of it. I was looking at some bond funds only today, and you start to, if you do a comparison, you know, the highest rating ones can produce 5%, 12, 15%, as opposed to, that's not what he was about. It
wasn't what he was about, and really towards the end of his career, when I got to know him, he was starting to worry that passive investment community, the people that were running funds like Vanguard, should actually be worried more about corporate governance. That's something that he talked to me about. I remember him saying, you know, people say, well, just let the invisible hand manage it. And he said, I am the invisible hand.
Right. And he was also seriously worried that the fund management would the funds in issuance would eventually own most of the stocks.
And indeed, we're exactly at that point right now.
Because if you look at all those funds, the Vanguard this, the BlackRock that, the IVV this, the Morgan Stanley that, at the bottom of them all are the same stocks, the same Apple shares in all of them.
Right.
Well, different Apple shares, but you know what I mean, the same
different Apple share and thousands of companies. And then that begs the question, well, all right, who's looking after the watchers? You know, if the investors are supposed to be watching management, well, how can a company like a BlackRock or a Vanguard or Fidelity watch the thousands of companies that they're investing in? And they're offshoring in some way that responsibility to proxy advisors, which have all kinds of problems. So there's a big backlash at the moment against passive investing. But for a lot of people, this is how they got to retirement.
I was just, in fact, you weren't able to hear it, but his last answer was about, you know, I don't need any more money.
Yeah.
I've got what if I need it, I've got it. I can afford. I can afford
Yeah.
it. My wife and I are happy.
Yeah.
We've got a house that's not big. And I mean,
Just like Warren Buffett. I mean, he was
yes,
just like that.
Yes, but where's the next generation of that?
Oh my God, Richard, they're
Where are
not
they?
around.
Oh, come on.
They're not. Well, let me take that back. I think that there is a movement actually afoot on Wall Street to kind of push back against excesses, in part because, frankly, the boom days. I think that they're over. I think we're moving into. I know you're skeptical, but I think we're moving into 40 years where it's going to be a lot harder to make money than it was in Jack Bogle's day. I'll tell you that.